Hey, it's Spence C. It's January the 23rd, 2025, and this video is the secret to getting free PR worth thousands. By the end of this video, I'm going to tell you, and you'll know exactly how to do that. But first, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe and feel free to comment. Comment PR in the comments down below. It really helps the algorithm get this video out to people who are looking for PR. Now let's say free PR, even better. My name's Spence, I'm a musician, have been in the music industry for over 25 years, and I'm sharing with you my experiences. I'm sharing with you what's working for me, what isn't working for me. I'm experimenting as I'm going, and I'm trying to grow this channel one beautiful subscriber at a time. So if that is you, thank you. And if you've been watching these videos, you'll know that the reason why I'm doing this is to stay consistent. 2025 is the year of consistency for me. Maybe it is for you too. And sort of within this consistency, I'm trying to stay more healthy. I'm over 50 and these videos are definitely for you if you're over 40, over 50, if you're middle-aged. Looking after your health is never more important than in your middle ages. In your middle age. And staying hydrated is a big part of that. It also makes you feel really good. It flushes out all the toxins. You know, you don't need me to lecture you on the benefits of drinking water. So by a way of trying to stay hydrated is to take some water on while I'm doing this. So if you want to join me, press pause, go and get your drink, come back, let's do it together. Here we go. This is cold. Well, you could just skip this bit if you want. So here we go. The free PR, the secret to getting free PR. Now, I would say there's probably 3 stages to this. The first stage is the single most important. If you don't take anything else away from this video, take this. Story is the most important thing when you're trying to get free PR or trying to get any PR. In fact, it's whatever, you even forget the PR. It's just the most important thing as an artist, as a musician, to get right first and foremost. And the reason for that is this. Once you get your story straight, then everything else falls into place. The content, what you should do for your content falls into place. The way you promote yourself falls into place. Who you promote yourself to falls into place. Everything is hung and draped around your story. Now, a lot of people try and reach for this story. They try and create something out of thin air. And a lot of artists who I work with and musicians, they'll say, well, I haven't got a story. You know, it's like you have to invent one. No, that's the opposite of what you need to do. Your story is your story. It's plain and simple. You don't have to reach, you don't have to make anything up. Sure, you might need to sort of rewrite it in a way that's more attractive, but write it in a more positive way. But if you go into your story, and this is why being over 40, being over 50 is a real advantage, because you've just got a lot more life experience than a 21-year-old or a teenager. So if you're worried about that, if you're starting to compare and despair that, you know, you're too old for the music industry, you're not a kind of a young, pretty 21-year-old and all that kind of stuff, whilst that has advantages, it's not an advantage when it comes to having a story. Because if you've lived longer, then you've just got more stories to tell. You've got more character. You should. But anyway, if you've lived till this long, you should have definitely a few stories. You've lived, you've lost, you've failed many times, you've succeeded lots of times. So it's really just dialing into your own story. And sometimes people don't want to look backwards. They don't want to look at themselves. They don't want to go inward and see what's really going on and how you feel about certain things, how certain life situations have impacted you. And a lot of people think that their story is rubbish, or oh, no one's going to be interested in that. Well, that's not true. And the big advantage of going into your own story is that no one else can do that like you. Your story is unique to you. Yes, you might have similar experiences to other people, but it's not exactly the same. And it's certainly not your filter that you look through is very different. So go granular into your story. Real sit down and start writing out from the moment you were born to now big life things that happened along the way. So it could be when certainly maybe your parents died, or your partner died, or you got really ill, or you had a massive success, or you moved lots of times when you were a kid, or you saw something that no one else has seen, or not many people have seen. All these kind of things go into that, and also go into the mundane as well. It could be just stuff that you think isn't interesting, but could be interesting. So that's the first thing. Get into your story and start writing down all these things that make you, you, and don't flinch from that. The second thing is, once you have your story straight, is then to be able to write it in a way that is appealing and attractive, and not like pages and pages, like a CV. Think of it like that. You don't write you don't write everything out, and so it's like 5 pages long, because no one's interested in that. You need something that's short and punchy and impactful. And of course, there's no excuse now, because we have AI, we have GPT, we have Otter.ai, we have Claude, we have what's the other one? I can't remember. There's many out there. So you can teach it to write a really kind of punchy press release, or a story. Ask it to sort of act like a PR agency and write your story. So the way I use AI is like this. So you simply, just like I'm doing now, you just talk into it. So you use it like a dictaphone. Talk your story into it. So it's your words. It's the way you speak. It's coming from you, and then you can use that and then say, look, can you rewrite this in a way that professional, like a professional music press release? And maybe be more specific than that. Say I'm using it for this particular thing. I'm doing a tour, or I'm going to these gigs, or I'm trying to get this festival, or whatever it is. And so it will do that. And then once it gives you that back, then you can finesse that and sort of, rewrite it a little bit more, and just kind of use that to do all the heavy lifting if you're not good at writing, or you're not confident enough. So that's the second thing. Now, once you've got that story straight, once you've got that story, then all the content becomes a lot easier after that, because then you realize what your story is. So for me, for example, at the moment, my story is, I'm a 50-year-old musician. I started busking when I was 40. I had a sort of a spiritual awakening around that time. My first daughter was born. I was a drug addict, an alcoholic, sex addict, and now reformed and recovered. And now I'm on this kind of resurgence with music, and reconnected to music in a sober way. I found faith. I found Christ, and I'm redeemed. But I'm also middle-aged, and I'm a new father now. I have a father. My father died about 18 years ago. That's another thing you can put in. So all these things, that's my story. So my angle is more about, talking about redemption and recovery, spiritual approach, and being a middle-aged musician with a new father. So these are my unique kind of things, right? So once you have that, put it all together, use ChatGPT to put it all together in a press release, and then you send it out to the press, the local press. Now, this is the way I did it. You can do it in any way you want, but this is what worked for me. I started busking, I did all that, and I was crowdfunding an album, and I also got invited to, I was living in the UK at the time, got invited to New York to participate, to appear on a show that goes out on NBC for songwriters, Jimmy Lloyd Songwriter Showcase. Shout out to Jimmy Lloyd. And so I did that, and I wrote all that in the press release, and about the busking and everything. So I had two angles here. It was like a busker goes to Broadway. That's what I refined it as. And this is before AI, right? So I did all this off the dome. The title of it was Busker Goes to Broadway. And so it was a great story. And they took it. And the local press where I was living at the time was Birmingham. And so Birmingham is the second biggest city in the UK, if you didn't know that. The Birmingham Post and Mail, I sent it to them, the features editor. The lady, she's not there anymore, but she liked the story. She called me up and, asked me more questions, sent some pictures, and they printed it. They did quite a big feature on it. As soon as that went out, as soon as that article went out in the newspaper and online, the phone rang, and it was the BBC WM, which is BBC West Midlands. Now the BBC's done into, not only does it have national stations like Radio 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, etc., but it has regional stations as well, like WM is the West Midlands region, which is a big area. And so Radio WM, The Breakfast Show, which is obviously one of the most popular shows. Alex Lester, who is a former Radio 2 presenter, he was doing The Breakfast Show. Anyway, his producer called me up and said, we love the story. We love that story. Can you come in and do a session, a live, play your song live, and we'll do an interview on The Breakfast Show? Yeah, I can do that. So I went along, took my guitar, I played a live song, and then they interviewed me about busking and about going to New York. And then, as I was coming out of the studio, another producer came up to me and said, hey, I really love that story. I really love what you did there. Can you do it again? We've got a show going out tonight. It won't be live in the studio, but we'll do it over the phone. Would you be willing to do that? I was like, yeah, of course. So I went back home and they called me up over the phone. He was interviewing me, and this show on the evening went out to the whole of the UK. So this show was going out to all the boroughs, all the counties, going out across everywhere. So the listenership from that was millions of people would have heard that. And that was all from one press release in the newspaper. So I've got the newspaper, I've got people in the newspaper seeing that, and I've got the radio coverage from that. And then, of course, I can use that story of how I got that to like talking to you now, to share it with other people and say, well, this is how I got. So you can imagine, and I've worked with musicians and bands who've paid PR companies thousands of pounds just to get on the radio like I did. And it wasn't even the same reach as me. They didn't even get in the newspaper. They got on a show which was going out, later on, a sort of late night kind of thing. So not the same listenership at all. And they were paying PR companies to get them that, and they were being charged thousands of pounds for it. And I got it completely free. So that's the power of storytelling. That's the power of getting your story straight. It's this power of living a life, being, of a certain age. The older you are, the more interesting stories you'll have, and to get out there and live, to make opportunities. Now, I could say there's a kind of a spin-off on this, which is about networking. So the way I met Jimmy Lloyd was at a networking event, which I met through this guy called Barry Tomes, who is a music PR person, funnily enough. And he was teaching people PR, and he was putting showcase gigs together and things like that. And I knew him through the Birmingham Music Network, which is a regular monthly networking event, which was on in Birmingham, which I would show up to, and all the musicians and people in the music industry would show up to this. They'd say what they're doing at the moment, and everyone would swap stories and make connections. And so I got to know him through that. So if I hadn't gone to that, if I hadn't met Barry Tomes, if I hadn't gone to his networking event, if I hadn't have met Jimmy Lloyd at that networking event, then none of this would have happened. If I'd have just stayed at home and just tried to get Spotify streams and not made any face-to-face connections with anybody, I wouldn't have got any of this, any of these experiences, any of these opportunities. None of them would have shown up for me, because I wouldn't have done anything. Or if I hadn't gone out busking and had that experience and had that story, then none of this would have happened. So, online is great. It's a great distribution channel, but really face-to-face, getting out there, meeting people, making connections, nurturing the connections, following up, and then utilizing these connections to create stories, to create interest, and then, promoting yourself. It's all connected. So that's the secret to free PR. Comment PR down below. If you like this, then please share it with other people. I know getting quite a lot of shares on these videos. I'm noticing the analytics, so thank you for that. And please comment free PR in the comments, and subscribe if you haven't done already. I'm showing up daily videos. There will be more long form videos on this channel as we go along. But for now, as I said, I'm very busy. I have literally an hour a day to do all this kind of stuff. So it's very raw. It's me, just no edits, just talking straight to the camera. If you like this kind of stuff, then hit the notification bell and you'll get notified every time I upload, which is every day. So with that said, just remember, rejection is only correction. Ridicule is fuel, and resilience leads to brilliance. See you tomorrow.